it's Miss Alyssa.
And Mr. Connor.
And we're here today for another video for our kids to learn more about Jesus. And if you've been with us recently, we've been talking about creation and our world and taking care of our world and who you guys are and what makes you special. And so to go along with this series we're doing, we're also going to be talking about what makes others special, and who that is our friends and our friendships. So we're going to be talking about friendship. So before we get in, I want to ask Mr. Connor what he thinks a friend is. What is a friend to you, Mr. Connor?
I think a friend is somebody who's honest and somebody who has a lot of the same interests as you, and somebody, I think, who can laugh with you and make you laugh. I think those are my favorite choices.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. Something important to me in a friend is just someone who's really caring and who cares for you a lot. So someone who's checking up on me during this time and who's asking me how I'm doing frequently. And also a friend to me is someone who shares my beliefs in me and who shares morals, which is kind of like what you believe in as a person. And so to kind of go off of friendship and how this relates to the Bible, we're going to be talking about two people, and our two people are David and Jonathan. And I'm going to read this story from the Bible, and then after I read this little tiny excerpt, we're going to break it down more so we can understand that. So if you're wanting to follow along with me or curious where I am, I'm going to be looking in 1 Samuel, which is in the Old Testament near kind of the beginning. So 1 Samuel 18, and I'm just going to read 4 verses, 18, 1 through 4. So this is what it says. It says, after David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he had loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. So let's just break that down for a minute. So we have David and Saul. First we're going to talk about David, which I'm sure that name kind of sounds familiar with you. So David was a shepherd. He took care of his father's sheep since he was just a little tiny boy, maybe about your guys' age. And you probably know David from taking down Goliath. Goliath was the big mean guy, and David was the little teeny guy that had the big sling and took him out. So that's who we're talking about. So David was a shepherd, but now he lives in King Saul's palace. So he went from being really poor to living in a really rich place. And then we have Jonathan. Jonathan is King Saul's son. So King Saul is his father, which that means that he's a prince. And Jonathan and King Saul got to know David after David fought Goliath. And David trusted the Lord and killed Goliath with his sling, which made Jonathan really look up to him. After David defeated Goliath, King Saul invited him to come to the palace to be a special musician. So when David was a shepherd, he had a lot of time singing with his sheep or to his sheep, which sounds really funny, but because he had this gift, he got to go and live in the palace and work that for a job. And so during that time, Jonathan and David got to spend a lot of time together, and they ended up becoming good friends. Jonathan recognized David as a really great father, and because of that, King Saul, Jonathan's father, made him an important leader in the army. David and Jonathan did things together, like practicing their fighting skills that they would need in battle. And I'm sure they did a lot of things together, maybe not play Legos or Animal Crossing like Connor and I did, but I'm sure they did other fun stuff together too. And Jonathan, again, really looked up to David by trusting in the Lord in everything that he did. Something that David appreciated for Jonathan was the way that Jonathan really showed his friendship by giving great gifts to him. Remember, David was just a poor little shepherd, so he didn't really have much. So because of that, Jonathan gave him his robe and his belt, like we heard, which was a really kind thing to do. Not only that, but because David was getting sent into war and fighting a lot of people, Jonathan also gave him a really good sword and a really good bow and arrow to use. And so David probably looked at Jonathan as a friend who thinks of others before himself, and he cared for David in that way. And so we can see kind of that it was God's plan for them to become friends, for them to get each other. They needed each other. Like David looked up to Jonathan because of what Jonathan did for David, and vice versa. Jonathan looked up to David because of what he did. But because of how much David was doing and how well he was doing in fighting the battles, King Saul was getting pretty jealous of David for winning all of the battles that King Saul should have been winning. So because of that, King Saul wanted to get rid of David. But because of Jonathan's friendship, Jonathan was always around to protect David and to make sure he was safe and okay. And he promised David that he would always be his friend. And he also promised God that he would always do his best to take care of David. And then David, on the other hand, because of that, promised Jonathan that he would always be his friend as well, and he would always take care of his family. And they appreciated each other's friendship because of that, and were able to look out to each other and even kind of recognize themselves as brothers, I'm sure. And so, learning from that from the Bible, I'm sure you guys maybe could have thought of someone in your life that you really appreciate their friendship for what they do for you or what you do for them. So during this time, we really want to think of our friends and being able to check up on them, appreciate them and what we're doing, because I'm sure you guys aren't really getting to see your friends that much. I haven't seen my friends at all, and it makes me sad, but it's made me really appreciate the time that I get to be with them and all they do for me. And so, going off of that and learning about important friendship, we're going to turn into our craft time with Mr. Connor, and so that we can have a craft that resembles friendship and how we can appreciate our friends.
Okay, so for our craft, we're going to be making necklaces that you can actually share with a friend. So let's go over the things you're going to need first. You're going to have some markers, and then a glue stick, some scissors, a hole punch, a pen or pencil, and then paper. And then if you want to, what I did was I used some thin cardboard, and you can use really any cardboard that you can cut through. Like if you have a piece of old package or something that you want to use, you can do that.
Or a cereal box.
Or a cereal box, that would work really well actually. So to start, you're gonna take your paper. Let me move all this stuff out of the way for just right now. You're gonna start with your paper, and I'm gonna show you what I did. I drew these puzzle pieces here, but what you could do, a little cheat to be easier, is you could find 2 puzzle pieces around your house, like in a puzzle set, and you can stick them together and you can trace them on this paper if that's easier to do, to draw that. So we're gonna just go ahead with what I already have here, right here. And what you're gonna do is you're going to draw something on here. You can draw either a full scene on both pieces together, or you can draw 2 separate pictures, whatever you want to do to keep one for yourself and gift one to a friend. And I'm going to show you how to do that later, but go ahead and draw whatever you feel like drawing on here. And then when you finish this up drawing it, you are going to take your piece of cardboard here, and you're going to put your puzzle pieces like this on here. After you cut them out, you're gonna put them on here and trace them onto this cardboard here. So what it'll look like is, I'll give you a little peek here. When you cut them both out, you're gonna glue them together, and it's gonna look like this. So you're gonna have a piece of cardboard here, and then your paper on the front like this. So when you get that cut out of your cardboard, you should have, like what I was showing, like this. Now on the front, this won't make any sense until I show you what I did here. But I drew in color a little yellow piece, little yellow puzzle piece, and it says peanut butter on it, so that's what I decided to do. And now, once you get these both out, I'm going to show you what I did here actually. I did peanut butter and jelly because best friends go together like peanut butter and jelly. You can even stick them together like this. But anyway, what you're going to do next, you can probably see, is take your hole punch here, and just punch a hole in a little free corner you have where you don't have a drawing on it. Then you're gonna, I forgot this in the materials actually, you're gonna need some string, and you're gonna cut out a piece that's long enough to go around your neck so you can tie it like a necklace. And then you loop it through the hole right here and tie it on the other end, and you'll have a necklace here. And then if you already have it cut these separately, you're going to want to cut them down the line right like this in the middle, and you can pull them apart and you'll have two separate necklaces, and you can keep one and give one to your best friend and you can have them together. And if you can't see your friends right now, it could be a fun little idea to put it in a little envelope and mail it to your friends and told them what you did and what your friend means to you. So, and also don't forget to write your name on the back and then the name of your friend that you're going to give it to on the back as well. So there's a fun little idea that you can do and send to a friend to show them how much they mean to you.
Okay, so after that lesson and that craft on friendship, I hope you guys had a good reminder and a refresher of what it means to be a good friend and what a good friend means to you and what it means to God. And so I hope that you guys can carry on your friendships even in this time, and that you're able to be a good friend and that your friends are able to be a good friend to you. So we can't wait to see you next week.
And I'm Peanut Butter.
And I'm Jelly. See you
I'll see
next
ya.
week.